Hey everyone, I'm Tanner from the investment team at the Legal Tech Fund. Today on In Studio, I'm joined by Maged Helmy, founder and CEO of Newcode.ai. Newcode is building an AI native operating system for legal. Newcode is a layer that sits across a firm's systems, data, and workflows, allowing lawyers to delegate complex, multi step work and receive complete structured outputs. At the Legal Tech Fund, we spend a lot of time thinking about what the infrastructure layer of legal actually looks like as AI continues to evolve. New Code AI is a clear example of that shift from tools to systems, from assistance to execution, and from fragmented workflows to a more unified platform with a really impressive agentic AI workflow builder behind the scenes. Today, we're going to unpack what that actually means in practice and what's working inside law firms today, where AI still needs help, and what it takes to move from experimentation to real adoption. Maged, it's so great to have you on in the studio. Maybe take a few seconds and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Tanner, and it's really a pleasure to be with you in studio here today. And I'm very glad that we could do this podcast together. Maged Helmy, CEO and founder of Newcode.ai. I've been so fascinated with the world of AI since 10 years ago, where I actually delved in my master's and PhD as an AI engineer, where I was always thinking, how can we provide the best and most secure AI for the heavily regulated industry to utilize and maximize their operations with? Fast forward today, we're Newcode, where I was also, before I started Newcode, I was an associate professor of AI, and here's where we are. So it's really exciting times for the industry of how far we came.
I love it. And we're definitely going to get more into your background throughout this session. But maybe for like the uninitiated, let's like double click into what Newcode does, what the platform seeks to solve today.
Yes, Newcode is the world's first AI native operating system for legal work. And what this means is that we did not build another chatbot over your document management system or yet another search engine that combines a language model with a prompt. Where we really came in here is to build an intelligence layer that sits across the existing systems of a firm. It can connect to your existing data, it connects to the existing applications that you use, and lawyers can really delegate the complex and multi-step tasks into our platform. But our core idea is very simple. We did not want lawyers to become prompt engineers to get value of AI. We wanted the lawyers to come to the system with a real legal task and describe the outcome they're looking for and get a reliable output. We did not want them to describe to the system what they actually wanted the system to do, but rather describe to the system what they actually want to get out of it. And this is where Newcode comes into the picture. We wanted to take the complexity of the work out and let the lawyers build on something that they can trust and work with the most complex cases they have.
I love it. You mentioned the PhD in AI and your master's. I remember at our past TLTF summit, your AI and legal presentation was standing room only, and you've spent years building AI systems, and it shows. What specifically did you see in legal workflows that told you this needed a new operating system and not just more tools?
The legal industry has plenty of tools by now. And by that, I was like, is there really a problem, or what is actually the problem here? And the problem was not the lack of tools, but really the problem was the core disconnect between all of these tools. And where we come in is like, well, how does a lawyer do the work today? Well, they need to go into platform X to do some research. They need to go to platform Y to do some drafting, and then they need to save this somewhere, and that is platform Z. And then there's like a matter management system. There's a way to track what they're doing. There's a way to collaborate. And as you build on these, you realize that every time you move between the systems, you lose context, you lose time, you introduce risk. So even though you might have optimized a single step, and that's where we see it, you're optimizing a single step, but across the whole life cycle of a task that you're working on, you lose time due to the shift in context. So the idea of the legal workflows came in here is to unite these fragmented systems. So you don't need another tab, another login, or another interface. You have a central place, which is the Newcode platform, where you can interact with all of these based on the legal outcome you're describing and get the response back. This way, when you're working in a single place, you actually compound all the firm's intelligence in the Newcode platform and not have to have the responsibility to inject this information into different systems. So through these shifts and through these thoughts, we said, right, legal workflows is the answer to that. We no longer need spot tools to do very specific things. We need a layer that is aware of all the different steps that the lawyers work on and deliver it as a service to them.
It's really interesting stuff. I mean, that single interface touches on the AI native OS for legal. You guys recently also released and announced Newcode Co-work. Maybe, expand upon what that means for folks.
Yeah, co-work is an extremely fascinating idea. And the foundation of co-work is simple. No more switching between tabs, no more switching between tools, no more switching between systems, but you have a central place that connects to the law firm most important systems. And through that, you are able to perform your work. And in that connection itself, there is a lot of challenges and a lot of things that a system must be aware of. For example, it has to respect the ethical ones. It has to make sure that when you're interacting with these different tools, you're working within, let's say, their API rate limits. You're working within its security and controls that are implemented, and make sure that the lawyers themselves are not sitting and configuring or having to learn a new set of skills in order to interact with these systems. So the idea of co-work is to eliminate all the technical burden, is to eliminate all the challenges in terms of security, how different systems shall interact together, and use us to connect with all of these systems and give the outcomes that the users or our clients are looking for. So this is how we're focused with co-work. Describe the outcome that you're looking for. The system will create the prompts, the agentic workflows it's looking for. It will create the actionable steps and present the information to the user back from all the scattered systems that a firm currently runs on.
That brings me to where I want to go next, which is when you think of all those scattered different systems, a lot of these tools still rely on prompts. Newcode's focused on delivering outcomes. I want to understand, for folks listening, what has to happen under the hood to make that reliable, and how does that change the user experience?
Absolutely. So we've all now have at least 1 year of experience under our belt using the language models, and I like to now call them the raw language models. The language models themselves, no matter how powerful they get, they do not have the firm's knowledge or precedence in legal work. And we've seen that a lot when people say, oh, it's really confidently making up information. Oh, it's actually missing the nuances here, or oh, it's not able to realize which one information weights more or more important than the other information. So what we've built under the hood is a consolidation from all our knowledge in AI, all our knowledge in legal, and build a very powerful orchestrator that takes in the outcome that's described by the user. And we have multiple layers that would actually route the outcome that the user is describing into the legal brain that we've built, and able to fetch back the steps in order to execute that correctly. And I would like to say that and emphasize on the word steps very much, because large language models have been used to generate text. But the way that we do it is that we use large language models to find the best tools in order to generate the information it's looking for. So we do not rely on the large language models' trained data. We rely on the large language models figuring out what are the steps to execute this action, get the right tools in place, pulls the information from these tools, and then synthesize and present the information back. So when a lawyer comes to our platform with this task, the system determines what kind of legal work they're trying to do, and it routes it to the right specialized specialized agent. Sorry. So that way, it will be able to coordinate this complex task. It will split it into several steps right here. There will be a sequence of reasoning. There will then be a sequence of retrieving information, a sequence for synthesizing, and then it will pull this information back and hand it to the user of the system.
Speaking of users of the system, Newcode's working with some pretty tremendous law firms. Where is the platform working best today inside those firms? And maybe touch on how the platform's integrating across their stacks.
I would say automated workflows, among many things. We have 20 features on our platform as of today and growing. Automated workflows is number one, and the most interesting one. I've heard there's a lot of discussions in the industry on like how can we keep human in the loop. The conversations we have right now is how do we have human out of the loop. And I really love that because it's the first time I've heard it. We need to get the human out the loop. There's just too many people touching the systems. The system efficiency drops when there's a lot of users who has to click and confirm and check. So what we do initially is learn the best way that will deliver the outcomes that the user is looking for. And there has been many cases where we come in and they say, all right, this is what we do in order to get what we're looking for. These are our input documents. These are the 10 steps that we apply. And right here is the outcome. Can we have an agentic AI do all of these steps for us? And 9 out of 10 times we come in and say, well, do you really need all of these 10 steps? You can actually achieve it by 2. You don't really need this other 8 anymore. You needed them when you needed the human in the loop. But now that the human is out of the loop, you don't really need all of these confirmations. Of course, I'm not advocating for throwing the humans completely outside of the loop. In fact, I'm in because this is the legal industry. It's heavily regulated. We need to make sure that everything we need to make sure that we're delivering the right information to the lawyers who are using the system. And the lawyers actually have it's their responsibility to ensure and check that the outcome is 100% correct. We're not taking that responsibility from our users. However, the idea here is to reduce the number of people touching the system in order to get to the legal outcome you're looking for much faster. And the iterations, and when we say much faster, you want to increase the cycle of iteration when the system is trying to produce an answer, because the more iterations you have, the more paths the model can explore, the more probability that you will get, or the higher the probability you will get a better answer. So when we're trying to reduce the number of steps, it's not sometimes purely to hurry up, but it's sometimes to introduce more iterations into our system. So automated workflows are growing exponentially. Agentic systems are becoming more reliable. MCPs are now the standard. Almost every single tool that a law firm relies on has an MCP connection, which means that from a single place, you can speak to multiple tools. And when law firms are building these automated workflows, agentic workflows, or the AI workflows here, they're able to start to take away a lot of the unbillable hours out of the picture, increase the amount of billable hours, just because now a lot of the tasks that were unbillable are out of the picture. And finally, they can design their own bespoke agents and workflows. And when they design their own bespoke agents and workflows, law firms can now start offering this as a service internally to other to themselves, or they can expose it and offer it as a service to their clients. That way, they're opening a new revenue streams to the law firm, which didn't exist before. Law firms no longer have to compete by the number of partners and hours produced per day. Somehow, in a world, we see that they will be able to also compete with their technology and agentic AI that they've built.
Super interesting. When you talk about effectuating outcomes via the Newcode platform, what are like your key metrics or North Stars that you track to prove that you're delivering true value?
I've done a rough calculation for just March, and I have seen that at any given minute across all of March, 2 million tokens were consumed under a minute. Any given time, Sunday, Saturday, the system never took a second to sleep. It was processing, and the growth has been exponential over the past 12 months here. So we look at the consumption, how many times our users are coming back to use the system, and we see that with time the use is increasing. The adoption rates is phenomenal. Some people measured, in 1 month we had let's say 90% of the users log in. At Newcode, with some of our clients, we can say per day, within an 8-hour working day, we have 90% of the people logged in, which is pretty fascinating metrics for us now, that this is no longer a platform where they use when they need, but they actually have it side to side next to their Outlook. This is as essential as their Outlook. And I know a couple of users who bought a 49-inch screen so they can have Newcode on the right-hand side and Outlook on the left-hand side, and they would read the news in the middle. So we definitely have fantastic metrics that track our track record in terms of the time savings, in terms of the consistency of quality across our system, and the adoption rate has been increasing. And our users are experiencing better and better performance by the day, both from as the models are getting improved. We do not compete against the models. We do not compete with any of the other features. In fact, when you use Newcode, you're surfing on top of the wave. As these foundational models improve, you will experience that improvement on Newcode. As more features are coming in there, you will experience it in Newcode. And in addition to that, we take away all the governance part, the centralization, the auditing, the deployment, the maintenance. That is all as part of our offering with Newcode.
I love that you mentioned, taking away the governance and the auditing with exponential growth and really eye-watering levels of consumption rates. How do you handle trust, security, auditability, and making sure outputs are defensible in a legal context?
Yes, this part is definitely non-negotiable for us, and that's why we built our system to run completely on the law firm cloud, 100%. No data moves to Newcode, no data moves anywhere without your knowledge. You can deploy Newcode fully on Microsoft Azure, for example, ring-fenced, geo-fenced, and all the data stays in there. It operates within there and produces the output from there. This is extremely powerful due to multiple reasons. As many of the law firms are handling extremely sensitive data, and they want to ensure that their governance, and they want to ensure that what's their data flow and data journey. We feel that Newcode is the only company today that can provide a fully deployed enterprise SOC 2, ISO 27001, ISO 9001 system on the law firm cloud with the breadth and width and depth of features that are offered today. And with that, we actually make sure like the security part, we're like, who's your sub-processors? Who are the data there? Security teams can simply go into the deployment, and there's a button that says generate the architect of the system. And within few seconds, Microsoft would actually generate the full flow of our system, all the systems that it connect with, where it's stored, what are the encryption keys, and Microsoft would generate the percentage on how safe this deployment is. So they don't have to wait for us to give them reports. They do not have to wait for us to reply. They can actually go fetch it in real time when they need it. And that's the power we give our users when it comes to the security and the auditability.
I love it. Maybe for the last couple of questions here, I want to, zoom out and just think more long-term vision. If this works at scale, what changes across the legal sector, whether that be the economics or the workflows?
Definitely. We are at the very, very beginning of the fundamentally in this transformation. Just today, I feel with the amount of technology just released within the past month, every time I feel like, we're now at 80% utilization. of what AI can do in the industry. With all the releases over the past weeks, I feel we went from 80% utilization to maybe 5% utilization. That just dropped for me. There is so much technology that we have access to today. There is so much power that we can deliver that we're just waiting for the users to actually be fundamentally ready of what's coming next. And when we say what's coming next, we're talking about next week. We're no longer talking 6 months. We're no longer taking 12 months. But as of today, technology is so far ahead, and it's just a question of adapting it and adopting it into the law firm. So fundamentally, what will shift is that AI will become the foundational part of any law firm moving forward. It will no longer be, oh, here is a feature, or oh, here is a couple of tools that interact with it. But rather, I see the most successful law firms will have AI as an infrastructure, and that infrastructure is intelligent. It's aware of the matters. It's aware of the best practices. It's updated with the latest changes in jurisdiction, and it's able to learn and improve themselves. Because you're talking 5 years, right? I mean, if I'm thinking 5 years from now, 2021 versus 2026, in 5 years, the change will even accelerate more. And I would even dare to say exponentially accelerate, which is like double acceleration at this point. And I fundamentally see that AI as an infrastructure in law firms, assuming law firms will be law firms, maybe law firms will be legal tech companies at this point, will be the core change.
I love that. I'm going to press on that a little bit because I think it's super interesting. So that was how you think about some of the legal industry shifting over the next 5 years. And to use your time horizon of 5 years, where do you think Newcode will be in 5 years? And how do you envision where that infrastructure play is?
Yeah. 5 years from now, Newcode will be the go-to AI infrastructure for any firm that is serious about integrating AI deeper and providing the best service to their clients. Newcode will be the go-to AI infrastructure, no question on that.
I love it. Maged, thank you so much for joining us on In Studio, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tanner. It's been a pleasure.